Hey, I'm Brian. Welcome to Gilham Woodshop. Let me show you around. Welcome to my shop, or my garage. Technically, it's a single car garage, but it's a single car garage from the 80s, which means that even if I could fit one of my cars in here, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to open the door and get out. This shop didn't happen overnight. It's something that I've been putting together for 2 or 3 years now. And as you might be able to tell from my videos, it's a shared space. I've got kids' toys, I've got Christmas decorations, I've got bikes, I've got recycling bins, all scattered around my tools. I think the reality is that most of us don't have these massive YouTube shops with every tool under the sun. At the end of the day, I feel really lucky to be able to have a space like this. I've been posting build videos on YouTube for about 3 months now, and the reaction has been amazing. I thought it was high time that I show you around the shop, explain some of my tools and what I've got going on in here, and maybe share some tips for your own small space along the way. Let's start with the bandsaw. This is a Rikon 10-inch benchtop bandsaw. I know I can hear people grumbling already about benchtop bandsaws being garbage, but honestly, I couldn't be happier with this model. It has 5 inches of resaw capacity, which at least for me right now is perfect, and the performance of it has been really great. I added a Bow Products featherboard here, and that's really helped with my resawing cuts. And overall, I'm very happy. I'd love to upgrade to a bigger model, a floor standing model at some point, but for now, this is doing great. This is my scale benchtop router table. It's been a really great starter for me. The 1 3/4 horsepower router that it comes with accepts both 1/4 and 1/2 inch shank bits, and it's handled everything that I've ever thrown at it. The dust collection works great, but the fitting at the back of the fence can be a little bit wonky with some hose adapters. Like all of my tools, it sits on a shop cart with casters. This not only gives me valuable storage underneath, but allows me to keep all my tools mobile and adjust the shop space to my needs. This is my DeWalt DWE 7485 job site table saw. It only takes up to an 8 1/4 inch blade, but it's been extremely reliable, and I love the rack and pinion fence. To upgrade the fence, I added the bow extender fence, which is just clamped onto the stock fence right there. This has been a huge upgrade and has given me a lot more space, and I can add supports on either end for infeed and outfeed support. Speaking of infeed and outfeed support, the table saw sits on this cart that I built and includes wings that can fold up for infeed and outfeed support. It also has wings on either side to help increase the width of the table saw surface a little bit. That part's really, really nice when I'm cutting sheet goods. Ultimately, there's a ton of trade-offs with a job site table saw. By building this cart and adding some extra support, as well as the longer fence, it's been more than adequate for my needs. One of the things you may have seen me wear in a bunch of my videos is this belt/hip pouch. This thing has been really, really nice for keeping a few things organized. So I've got my marking knife, my pencil, a punch, an extra tape measure, and the remote for my kind of various dust collection systems. I handle my dust collection through 2 different devices. One is a rigid shop vac. I used to have a cyclone separator on it, but the 5-gallon buckets kept collapsing, so I'll have to figure out a new solution there. For now, I just run a really good filter in it and empty it out from time to time. The other is a 3/4 horsepower portable Craftex dust collector. It's been a really nice upgrade for tools like the table saw, the jointer, and the planer. It's not super powerful or very big, but for a shop this size, it's been perfect. My DW735 planer from DeWalt probably looks familiar. A lot of people use this lunchbox planer, but for me, it was a little bit of a revelation. When I started my woodworking journey, I thought I had to just accept the thickness of board that I could get from dealers or the big box stores. Getting to the point where I can make any board the exact thickness I need for my project has really leveled up the work that I'm doing. Like a lot of my other tools, it lives on a cart, and when I need it, I pull it out, hook it up to the dust collector, and I'm off to the races. So far, I've been really, really happy with this planer. I think the one change I would make at this point is to add the extension tables to either side. My Ryobi drill press is okay for now. It's cheap, and it gets the job done. There's some visible runout on the chuck, but I found that for just drilling straight holes at accurate depths, it's been more than enough. It sits on a cart, just like all my other tools, with these heavy metal boxes underneath, which not only provide some nice counterweight to the top-heavy nature of the drill press, but also store a lot of my finishes and other flammable things. This is my King Industrial 6-inch benchtop jointer. A jointer is not absolutely necessary. There's lots of different ways to joint the edges and faces of boards, but this is certainly a very nice convenience, and it's been a huge upgrade for me. People love to knock benchtop jointers like this one, but my experience has been nothing but positive. I check that the fence is square every single time that I use it, and I haven't had to adjust it since I first bought it. Right now, it lives on a shelf next to my little hobby CNC, but I think I need to get it on a cart soon. Just to the right of the bench, I have storage for things like my table saw sled, a couple other jigs, like my tapering jig and my picture frame jig. I also tend to keep offcuts in this kind of little cubby here. It's not a lot of room, but it kind of helps promote me taking scraps and sticking them in the scrap bin. Wood storage is always challenging in a small shop. I have this area up here which can hold boards that are about 36 inches long, and I have a rack up next to the garage door track that can hold boards that are about 8 feet long. Beyond that, it's a little bit too big for my space. Right now, back here, I have a whole bunch of walnut waiting for a coffee table build, and I also have the failed first base from the dog bowl stand from my last video. Finally, we have the heart of my shop, the bench. I'm a big believer in the Adam Savage methodology of having your most used tools readily accessible and on hand. I love having tools up on the wall and ready to go at a moment's notice. If I'm in the middle of a project or a tricky glue up, I don't want to be fumbling around for a clamp or some other tool. Lots of people invest in French cleats or pegboards or other storage solutions. My solution to this has been to mount 2 3/4 inch sheets of plywood to the wall, and then a lot of my tools just get mounted by putting screws in. It's a solution that works really well for the flexibility that I find I need. This wall is always evolving as my needs change and the tools that I use most often change. As we move along, it should become relatively obvious that I've invested in a lot of rigid tools. So we've got my jigsaw here, we've got a trim router. I mostly reserve the trim router for very small work or in the Milescraft circle cutting jig. I've got a pin nailer, a brad nailer, a right angle subcompact drill. This gets pulled out probably rarely enough that it shouldn't be in such a prominent spot, but I just haven't moved it yet. I've got my drill and driver. I've got my oscillating multi-tool, and then the plunge base for my Bosch router. And like any wood shop, I have lots of clamps. Probably have fewer clamps than others, but really the scale of project I'm doing doesn't often require more clamps. One thing that I've really enjoyed using recently is this Milwaukee 3-inch random orbital sander. I really like the barrel grip as a form factor. And when I'm trying to sand smaller objects, it's just been a lot more useful than breaking out the rigid 5-inch sander. Up above the bench, I have a couple of folding sawhorses mounted to the front of this shelf. I have my countersink bits. I have some plug cutters. I have some more of my router bits, including some of my bigger guys, like this beefy flush trim bit. Over in this corner, I have a couple of different things. So I have a big long power strip. In this garage, I'm actually technically on a single circuit, but I'm also often working alone and don't have more than 1 or 2 machines going at the same time. Tripped the breaker a few times, and one of my dreams is to add a second 120 line in here and a 220 line, but that's probably for down the road. One of the things I really love is my hardware store. So in these 2 boxes, I've got everything from knurled nuts to nylocks and bearings. I've got cable clips. I've got various sizes and lengths of GRK screws. Kind of a little bit of everything. Wood screws, metal screws, lag screws, tapcons, hose gaskets, wagos for electrical work. It's a wide range of materials that live in here, but ultimately my philosophy is the fewer times I can go to the store or have to go to the store, the better. And so I try to treat this shop like it's also my hardware store as much as possible. So that's a look at my garage wood shop. It's small, but every inch of it works hard. Thanks for joining me on this really quick tour. If you have any questions about the setup in my shop, or if you have ideas on how I can better organize this shop or things that have worked well in your shop, I'd love to hear about them. Until next time, thanks for watching.